Hello.
Hello.
Yes, sir.
Hello.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Are you getting my voice, please?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
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 sir.
sir.
Uh, just 1 minute, Gyana sir. Actually, those are already registered. They can automatically, while we are opening the RC Bhubaneswar link, you can automatically register. And those are not getting email or email is wrong and they cannot admit after the time. Suppose class is opening 7 p.m. Suppose you will come 7:15, 7:20. RC Bhubaneswar is closed because RC Bhubaneswar just you will open the classes or start the classes. Okay. So if you
Yes, sir.
want to entry, so just email me the list in Word file you can share in the Word file or email list. So can I can send the message to all of you so you can admit yourself. Okay. And you can continue the class. ଯୋଉମାନେ class କୁ ଆସି ପାରୁନାହାନ୍ତି. Are you getting my point, please?
Yes, sir.
Hello.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So you can share the email list in Word file. Okay. So that I can enter your name. Then you can able to the entry in admit. Even if RC Bhubaneswar is not there, or it is not open in the time. In the timing, suppose 7 p.m. while we are starting the classes, if you are there, so you can enter, you can admit it. And
Because
suppose
people are also coming 5 minutes late, so that I am not able to take classes because I have to take classes when I find only 10 number of students as per the arrangement. So, I mean, for the students, the enrollment to reach
you can
10.
entry, just wait 15 minutes. 10 to 15 minutes, people will come. Well, you should class should start in scheduled time.
Yeah. That's the reason.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
all students are requested to report before 7 p.m. so that I can come at 7 o'clock and start the class.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir, for the information. Thank you to all learners for the information.
Yeah. Okay. So now let's come back to the legislature thing. So legislature is often used synonymously, as we said, with the term parliament. Okay. And legislature is also derived from the Latin word lex. Meaning legal rule through legislation. We all, know that legislature means it is basically a law making body. For example, ଆମର ସେଣ୍ଟରରେ ଯେମିତି ଆମେ କହୁଛେ ପାର୍ଲାମେଣ୍ଟ, ଷ୍ଟେଟରେ ଆମେ କହୁଛେ ଲେଜିସ୍ଲେଚର ବା ବିଧାନସଭା. So these are all legislatures. So the basic job of a legislature is to make laws for the land ବା ସେଇ ଅଞ୍ଚଳର ପାଇଁ ସେ law ତିଆରି କରିବ. So it is a law making body, which has been empowered by the constitution. Okay, it is a law making body. So that is very, very important. Okay, so if you look at the post-colonial Indian legislature, which began its journey of democracy and political development since 1952, but Indians were not new to the idea of legislature. Remember, the Britishers also introduced Indians the idea of legislature before India actually got independence. So ମାନେ 1900 actually ଇଣ୍ଡିଆରେ ଇଲେକ୍ସନ୍ସ ହେଇ ଆସୁଛି, legislature ଅଛି, council ଅଛି, they were passing laws, enacting laws. So we were not new to the idea of what I can say, the legislature and the legislative process. Okay, so so the Indians were introduced to this novel institution of the legislature by the British. So the chief means by which the British Parliament usurped the monarch's power over the subjects was responsible government. So 1833, during the colonial government, a conceptual distinction was made between the executive and the legislative functions of the Governor General Council. Okay. So Indian Councils Act of 1861, there was both gradual expansion of the legislative tasks entrusted to the legislative councils and a progressive incorporation of natives into the legislative machinery. Okay, so Morley Minto reforms of 1909 actually sought to enlarge the Imperial Legislative Council and the Provincial Legislative Council by including the elected non-official members. So an element of election was also introduced in the Imperial Legislative Council. So the deliberative functions of the Legislative Council were also increased, and it provided for the first time a separate electorate for the Muslim community. So the belief persisted, nonetheless, that parliamentary politics was unsuitable to Indian conditions. Lord Morley, Secretary of State for India, read in the House of Lords during the first reading of Indian Council Bill on 7th December 1908. Okay, so I mean the whole idea is that parliamentary system and the idea of legislation was not new. I mean to the people of India, and the people of India were, I mean, clearly they had some idea about what I can say about the I mean how we can do it. Okay, so that's very very important. Okay, so then I mean what is important is that, so now let's try to understand the structure of Indian legislature in India. Okay, what is the structure? So kiye kahi paribo tama bhituru amar jo legislative structure achi, kiye kahi paribo? Who can say what is the structure?
सर से इलेक्शन हुए एमएलए एमपी गुड़ार राज्यसभा
No,
लोकसभा
structure कौन अच्छी? स्ट्रक्चर माने किए कहि परिबो? अरे स्ट्रक्चर माने कौन?
माने काहा को नै कि सेटा गठित हेछि सेटा
एग्जैक्टली
सेटा
लोकसभा राज्यसभा तापर राज्यर लेजिस्लेचर सेगुडा को नेकी गठित होईछि पार्लियामेंट
नो
प्रेसिडेंट हेड थी अच्छा
I mean see the point is see amaro eta houchi जे कौन ना एक्चुअली प्रेसिडेंट तापरे होची लोकसभा आउ राज्यसभा को नेकी सेंटर रे लेजिस्लेचर टा तयारी हेची ओके सी so that's very important. I mean the point is what I can say I mean what is important is that president is also very much part of what I can say that's very important, that president is also part of the legislature. President tapare hochi kono Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha. Okay, tapare so eguda state legislature re semti amar kon achi je Vidhan Sabha and Vidhan Parishad. Vidhan Parishad ra gotte second. Okay, so then the next thing is that parliamentary sovereignty. Okay, state legislature kiye achanti na amar jemti chief minister, speaker, so same structure we follow the I mean, we follow, the same structure. Okay, so that's the key thing. Okay, then the next is parliamentary sovereignty. So what do we mean by parliamentary sovereignty? So parliamentary sovereignty means, so as a theory of politics, sovereignty embodies the notion that in every system of government there must be some absolute power of final decision. So the person or body exercising such decision must be legally competent to decide and practically able to enforce the decision. So the concept entails a prescriptive, and descriptive element. So the contrary to the situation as it ought to be, in reality, many states do not possess the unity, clarity, and effectiveness of command implied in the concept of sovereignty. Okay. So in India, governments have often come into conflict with judiciary over the extent to which parliament may amend the constitution. In the Goloknath case, the court ruled by 6.6:5 majority that parliament was not competent to amend fundamental rights as they are transcendental and immutable, though the power to attend the constitution is a legislative power, and hence the Constitutional Amendment Act is a law within the purview of Article 13, Clause 2. But in 1971, by the 24th Amendment Act, the Parliament sought to retain its sovereignty by making the Constitutional Amendment Act immune to judicial review on the ground that it takes away or affects fundamental rights. Also, an amendment of the Constitution passed in, yes?
Sir, who is Goloknath?
Goloknath jane petitioner. Okay, केशवानंद भारती जमती गोटे पिटिशनर सेमती गोलकनाथ भी गोटे पिटिशनर थिले एगुड़ा सब फेमस सुप्रीम कोर्ट जजमेंट्स गोलकनाथ केशवानंद भारती केस मिनर्वा मिल्स केस एगुड़ा सब जाक तुमको मन रखा पड़ो माने जदि तुम इंडियन पॉलिटिक्स उपरे अधिका पढ़िया चाहूच बा तुम ज्ञान दरकार ताले यही सब केस गुड़ा न पढ़िले तुम अधिका ज्ञान आरोहण करिपारिबो नाही. Okay, so that is very important. So parliamentary sovereignty. So what I am saying is that what I quote तमनु पढ़ौतिली. Okay, so an amendment to the constitution was passed in accordance with Article 368. आमर actually Indian constitution रे Article 368 होची amendment procedure को define करूची. Okay, so the 25th Constitutional Amendment Act, which allowed the Parliament to encroach on fundamental rights if it was said to be done pursuant to giving effect to the directive principles of state policy. Okay, so in April 1973, in the Kesavananda Bharati case, the Supreme Court ruled that while Parliament could amend even the fundamental rights guaranteed by the Constitution, Parliament was not competent to alter the basic structure or framework of the Constitution. Okay, so the 42nd Amendment Act unambiguously and unabashedly declared the Parliament to be competent to amend all provisions of the Constitution and the courts to be incompetent to question parliamentary enactments. Okay. So the assertion of parliamentary sovereignty in the wake of conflict between the due process of law and the procedure established by law is due to its consideration as the repository of the will of the people as it is directly elected by and accountable to the people. In fact, Parliament elected by all adult citizens is more representative of the general will than a constituent assembly which had been elected on a very restricted franchise. Moreover, the courts over the years had delivered contradictory decisions, and the inconsistency of judicial verdicts have produced constitutional confusion. So what we are trying to understand here is that parliamentary sovereignty has always been challenged in the court of law. Okay, court of law re eta parliamentary sovereignty ra challenge kara heichi. Okay, that is very very important. Okay, tenu so that is very important. Tenu so what we need to do and what we need to engage is the very idea of competing. How we can actually look at the whole idea of the possibilities of parliamentary sovereignty. विभिन्न प्रकार जो सब आमर अमेंडमेंट हेइछि बा कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल वर्डिक्ट आसीछि सुप्रीम कोर्ट रो सेठी सब बळे पार्लियामेंट रो सॉवरेनिटी को नेकी सब बळे क्वेश्चन करा हिछि. ओके, so that is very very important. Okay, so that is very very important. Okay, so as far as the parliamentary sovereignty is concerned, so this is one area why we need to engage all these things. Okay, now let's try to understand how the parliament has functioned over the period of time. Okay, तमर जानिचो हमर जानिचो parliament actually आरंभ होला 1952 रु. Okay, so the parliament actually began in 1952. Okay, and the same 1952 what we can do justice is the idea that the parliamentary sovereignty question. Okay, the parliamentary sovereignty question actually that also became very crucial. Okay, जेमती कि तमरो 1952 रु आरंभ करी 2014 इलेक्शन पर्यंत one thing which is very common is that there is a gradual decline in the way parliament has actually functioned. This is one point which I would like to tell you. बाकी अन्य जिनस तमे तम नोट्स रे पाइबो सेते तमे देखो पार्लियामेंट होची गोटे लॉ मेकिंग बॉडी, but gradually we see that the nature of debate in the parliament has actually decreased. Okay, the I would say that the nature of जोटा question hour session हमें कहूचे. Okay, the question hour session that has really decreased. Okay, so ये जो प्रकार decrease हेइची, so सेही decrease टाकू actually that we have to take a note of it. Okay, so that is very very important. Okay, so more कहया कथा होची जे so these things we have to take into account as far as the parliament or the legislature is concerned. Okay, तेणु तमर एथिरे तबले legislature रे पढ़ा जीवो, so define the legislature and discuss its working in Indian democracy ऊपरे गोटे question पढ़ी पारे, which all of you have to prepare accordingly. The next unit that I will be discussing is bureaucracy, police and army. Okay, what is there in bureaucracy, police and army? Who can so basically bureaucracy, police and army means we are trying to discuss the executive. हैला से काहे कि executive लेखिनी मु बुझी पारुनी, किंतु आर माने होची executive. Okay, केवल आदरे ministers नाहंती, but bureaucracy, police and army माने होची executive. एवं एमाने समस्ते होचंती some of them are line agencies and some of them are staff agencies. Okay, hello. Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So what we are trying to understand is that so all these complicated questions are actually are very, very important. Okay. So we need to understand that what actually constitutes the executive. Okay. I mean, so so this is very important. Okay. ତେଣୁ ତମେ ପ୍ରଥମେ ଯଦି ଦେଖିବ ପୋଲିସ ହଉଛନ୍ତି କ'ଣ ନା actually police is part of Indian ancient Indian history. Okay, Mauryan empire ri police thila. Mughal period re the Kotwali system monitored the activities of the citizens. British rule created a modern policy by creating Police Act of 1861. Okay. Similarly, the colonial state allowed the creation of police in a legal manner. They could investigate the criminal case as per the law. As per the law of the time. The colonial state, so କଥା ହଉଛି जो modern police act, ଏଇଟା ବି ଗୋଟେ colonial state ର ଗୋଟେ contribution. Okay. ତେଣୁ so this is again very important. Okay. So tapare next hochi so this is again so we have to understand that ei jo police so dhire dhire police organization ta expansion heichi. For example, the activities of police, they have also got expanded with the changes introduced by the modern society of India. So Indian society is no more an agricultural society through majority of people live in the villages. But in terms of contribution to the national income, the share of agriculture has declined drastically. Okay. So the contributions of industry and service sector they have also increased. So this transition to an industrial and modern society has brought certain changes in the society. So a transitional society had some peculiar problems which need to be tackled by the police. The Indian society is getting urbanized at a faster rate, which creates some problems for the police. So the problems of the industrial and urban society are different in nature from the rural society. So the rural society had changed because of the social changes introduced by the Green Revolution and political democracy. So the caste hierarchy has undergone a radical change, and land reforms such as the abolition of Jamindari system, it has also changed the face of rural society, by removing the hereditary social leaders. So it has led to a sharp competition among various caste groups for sharing the social power. So the changing balance of social forces in rural society gets reflected in politics. Okay. So the democratic politics has brought some changes in the society. Okay. The electoral system has strengthened the democratic character of the society, and this has led to sharp competition for political power among the social groups and classes of people. Okay. And the entry of political parties into rural politics has actually strengthened the competition after leading to violence. Police intervention is sought in such a political situation for tackling the criminal elements and gangsterism. Okay. Challenges before the police force. Okay. So this is very important. Okay. Then again, police raw kemiti judiciary, executive, so these things also they constitute an important domain of our understanding. Okay. So this is So so I mean what is important is that so police jetebale ame katha barta karuche, so that also we also have to take into account so these things also. Okay. So then civil service को भी जेतेबेले आम आलोचना करिबा प्री इंडिपेंडेंस पीरियड रे मध्य सिविल सर्विस टा थिला, particularly the Government of India Act of 1858. Okay, it actually provided for a multi-tier bureaucratic authority which continued to exist up to 1947. Okay. So तापरे पोस्ट इंडिपेंडेंस एरा रे सिविल सर्विस टा केमिति हला, सिविल सर्विस रो लेजिस्लेचर संगरे यू नो संपर्क कोन, आमे जदि या विषय रे आलोचना करिबा ब्रीफली, ए जो डिस्टिंक्टिव फीचर्स ऑफ द एडमिनिस्ट्रेटिव फ्रेमवर्क ऑफ द कंट्री हला, फर्स्ट होची द सुप्रीमेसी ऑफ द पार्लियामेंट ओवर द एग्जीक्यूटिव एंड द राइट ऑफ पार्लियामेंट to seek, receive and apprise information about governmental actions with a view to reviewing the working of the administrative machinery. Second hochi the preeminence of the position of the Prime Minister in the Council of Ministers in administration. The collective responsibility of the the collective responsibility of the Council of Ministers to Parliament. Okay. This is also again very important. Okay. What is important is that how do we look at the idea of the administrative machinery. Fourth, the individual responsibility of each minister. Okay. Holding a portfolio to formulate the departmental policies. So it is his or her responsibility of supervising the administration of these policies and other departmental works. So the obligation on the part of ministers and civil servants to uphold the constitution and rule of law. The obligation of every public servant to implement faithfully all policies and decisions the ministers, even if they are contrary to advice tendered by them. Okay. Seventh, the right of public servants to express themselves frankly in tendering advice to their superiors, including the ministers. The observance by public servants of the principles of political neutrality and impartiality and anonymity. So most of the posts below the level of ministers in the secretariat and in the field organization are manned by the civil servants. Their work consists of assisting the political executive in policy formulation, program implementation and administration of the laws of the land. Okay. So this is also again very important. Okay. So they also did contribute in policy making process actively as they are taken as the professionals. Okay, who are competent to provide the inputs in the policy making process. So the final touches are supposed to be given by the minister, followed by the Council of Ministers. So it is wrong to presume that the policy making is done by the political masters and the implementing agencies. Okay. What we are trying to do here is that तापर तुम देखिए even the constitution, the civil service and the political environment, relationship with political leadership, ये सब जगह रे there are also reforms which are required. Then military in democracy. Okay. India actually fortunately military has played the least important role in democracy, except ସେମାନେ actually India ର କୌଣସି पॉलिटिकल डिसीजंस रे सेमान एक्चुअली केबे कोनोसी भाग नै नाहंती ओके किंतु अनफॉर्चुनेटली इफ यू लुक एट द हिस्ट्री ऑफ what I can say the history of other democratic countries neighboring the democracy has actually played into the hands of the military regimes okay so all these things are very important when we try to understand uh, role of military in the decision making process. For example, the relations with political leaders. So these things are very very important okay तेणु तमे ये यूनिट रे मते कहीं लगुनि एते विशेष किसी इंपोर्टेंट थिला भलिया तमे एक्चुअली आमे जोटा पढ़ीतिले जो यूनिट गुडा मु तुमको कहितिले आगु इंपोर्टेंट तमे सेटा को पढ़ एटा ठीक अछि दिस इज यू कैन जस्ट हैव ए ग्लांस अबाउट इट बट एक्चुअली तमे जो यूनिट गुडा को मु कहितिली गुरुत्वपूर्ण बोली तमे सेटा को ଟିକେ फोकस करो ओके आ बाकी आमे पुणी जो 7 सॉरी आज सरला 7 8 9 10 11 12 काली हमर क्लास अछि डू यू हैव ए क्लास टुमारो
सर
अछि
यस सर
हेलो
हाँ सर अच्छी
ताले काली आमे हेलो
हाँ
आई गेस
हाँ काली आमे क्लास करिबा हमर इटा हबो so what we can discuss is about so what we today we discussed about so legal system and judiciary from there we will discuss tomorrow we will discuss about legal system and judiciary federalism and devolution of powers and local self government right
यस
hello
यस सर
Yes, sir.
okay
Yes,
so
sir.
for today so okay so we'll take a leave and tomorrow we will meet okay
ओके सर
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
हेलो
हाँ
स्टडी मटेरियल समस्त पहुंचला कि
ना ना पहुंचना
ना actually study material
से मुश्किल हो पढ़ा
डाउनलोड कर दियंतु
डाउनलोड करो
मैंने डाउनलोड करके होची जे स्टडी मटेरियल पहुंची नहीं करतली
camera on करो
कैमरा ऑन करो
ना गोटे दिन रे गोटे दुडे तीनटा यूनिट पढ़ी देछन ना बड़ा मुश्किल होची हां
ଗୋଟେ ଦିନରେ ଦୁଇଟା ତିନିଟା ୟୁନିଟ୍ ହିଁ ପଢେଇବେ କାରଣ ସେଟା ଅନଲାଇନ କ୍ଲାସ ହଉଛି
हाँ
ଏମିତିରେ ବି
28 टा यूनिट अछि थ्रे
हां बस
Offline
से पूरा बहुत फास्ट पढ़ी देछन ना
କ୍ଲାସ ଅଫଲାଇନ ରେ ବି ସେମିତି କ୍ଲାସ କରନ୍ତି
हां ना ऑफलाइन रे भी करंती जे ठीक स्पीड कर हां चलिबो किछ नाही जे
ଅଫଲାଇନ ବି ତାଙ୍କ ପାଖରେ ଲିମିଟେଡ ଟାଇମ ଥାଏ ନା ଗୋଟେ ଗୋଟେ ୟୁନିଟ୍ ଦି ଦିଟା ୟୁନିଟ୍ ସେମାନେ
ओनली असाइनमेंट रे को दियंतु
ना मु काली दुई जन को फोन करके पचारुतले से माने कहउतले कि कोन पढ़ा खाली एतकी जानिछु कि MPS 3 पढ़ा होची किंतु को यूनिट केते बेले कोन पढ़ा होची हम जानि परनु सेते पई हम पर किछि स्टडी मटेरियल भी नाही सेते पई हम क्लास अटेंड करनु बोलतिले
स्टडी मटेरियल नहीं तुम डाउनलोड कर देके देखि दियंतु तो
से माने से कहले कि आ सेते हम आसन बोल कि
ଗୋଟେ ଯାତ୍ରା
कोन बोले
बिल डाउनलोड खाली करले को हबो ताको तो प्रिंट काढिया पड़िबा ना ताको डाउनलोड करके मोबाइल
ना ना
हाँ,
रजिस्ट्रेशन
देखियो बोले ना।
क्या है ना एक्स्ट्रा
ନା ଗଲେ ହବ ମତେ କ୍ୟାମେରା
ବହିର ପଇସା ଏକ୍ସଟ୍ରା ଦିଆ ହେଇଛି ନା।
କ୍ୟାମେରା ଅନ୍ ଅଛି।
ଆପଣଙ୍କର କ୍ୟାମେରା ଅନ୍ ଅଛି।
ଅନ୍ ନାହିଁ ଅପିନ୍ ର
ଅନ୍ ଅଛି।
ଅଫ୍ ହେଇଗଲା।
ହଁ ହଁ
ଅନ୍ ଅଛି,
ହଁ, ଏବେ
ଆମେ
ଅଫ୍
ଆପଣଙ୍କୁ
ହେଇଗଲା।
ଦେଖିପାରୁଛୁ।
ବୁଝୁଛନ୍ତି
ଆପଣ ସବୁ MPS ବାଲା ତ?
ହଁ
ଆରେ
MPS
କ୍ୟାମେରାଟାକୁ ଅଫ୍ କରିଦେଲା
କଣ ହେଇଛି ସଙ୍ଗୀତ?
କ୍ୟାମେରା ଅନ୍ ଥିଲା ଆପଣଙ୍କର।
ହଁ ମୁଁ ଅନ୍ କରିଛି। ମୁଁ ସେଥିପାଇଁ
ଆଚ୍ଛା
କହିଲି
କ୍ଲାସ
ସମସ୍ତେ ଅନ୍ କର। ସାର୍
ତମର
ଆଜି
ସବୁ
କଣ ପଢେଇଲେ ମୁଁ ସାରଙ୍କର ସବ୍ ସିରିୟସଲି କହୁଛି କି ସାରଙ୍କର ଖାଲି ୟୁ ନୋ ଓକେ ଦ୍ୟାଟ୍ ଇଜ
ହଁ 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 ମୁଁ ସେଟା କହିବାକୁ ଚାହୁଁଥିଲି ଆକ୍ଚୁଆଲି ଆପଣ ମାନେ ଖରାପ ଭାବିଲେ ମୁଁ କହୁନି। ବେଶୀ ହଉଛି ନା
ନେତା
ସେଥିପାଇଁ
ପ୍ରୋବ୍ଲେମ।
ଟିକେ।
କିଏ ଆଉ କଣ ନୋଟ୍ କରିଛ ମୁଁ ସେଇଟା ହିଁ ନୋଟ୍ କରିଛି ଆଇ ମିନ୍ ୟୁ ନୋ ଓକେ ଦ୍ୟାଟ୍ ଇଜ ମୁଁ ଏଇଟା
ହଁ
ହିଁ
ହଁ ହଁ
ବୁଝୁଛି
ସେଇଟା ବା।
ସିରିୟସଲି।
ସମସ୍ତେ ଯଦି ଭିଡିଓ ଅନ୍ କରିଥାନ୍ତେ ଆଉ ଟିକେ ଭଲ ଲାଗିଥାନ୍ତା।
କଣ ହେଲେ
ସମସ୍ତେ ଯଦି କ୍ୟାମେରାଟା ଅନ୍ କରିଥାନ୍ତେ ଆଉ ଟିକେ ଭଲ ଲାଗିଥାନ୍ତା ରିଅଲିଷ୍ଟିକ୍।
ନାଇଁ ନାଇଁ ନାଇଁ।
ହଉ ସମସ୍ତେ ସମସ୍ତେ ସାଙ୍ଗ ଫ୍ରେଣ୍ଡସ୍ ଗୁଡାକ ସମସ୍ତେ ନିଜ ନିଜର ଟିକେ ଇଏ କରିଦିଅନ୍ତୁ ନହେଲେ ଆଉ ଏବେ ଆଉ ନିଜ ନିଜ ଭିତରେ
ଆରେ
ଆମେ 6 ଜଣ ଅଛୁ ଏବେ
ସିରିୟସଲି
ଆଉ।
ଶୋଇ ପଡିଥିଲି ସାର୍ ଯେତେବେଳେ କହୁଥିଲେ ମୁଁ
ହଁ
ଉଠିଗଲି।
ହଁ ହଁ ବା ସେଇଟା ମୁଁ ଆକ୍ଚୁଆଲି କହିବାକୁ ଭାବୁଥିଲି ମୁଁ ଭାବିଲି କି ଆପଣ ମାନେ ଖରାପ ଭାବିବେ ବୋଲି ମୁଁ କହୁନି ସେଇଟା।
ତାହେଲେ
କାଲି
ସମସ୍ତେ କିଛି କିଛି ଖରାପ ଭାବିବେ ବୋଲି କହୁନାହାନ୍ତି ମୁଁ ହିଁ ଷ୍ଟ୍ରେଟ କହିଦଉଛି ନାଇଁ କି?
ନା ସେମିତି କିଛି
ଆରେ
ନାହିଁ
ଏସବୁ ରେକର୍ଡ ହଉଥିବ ରେ।
ନା 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 ନା
ରେକର୍ଡ ହଉନଥିବ ତ?
ହଉଛି ହଉଛି ହଉଛି।
କହିଲା କି ନାଇଁ ଦେଖିଲ ରେକର୍ଡ ଖାଲି
ସାର୍
ରେକର୍ଡ
କହିଲେ
ଆରିସି
ହେଇଛି।
ମାନେ
ଲେଖା ହଉଛି।
କହୁନି ଦେଖ
ଆରିସି ଲେଖା
ହଉନି
ହେଇଛି
ରେକର୍ଡ
ଉପରେ।
ଲେଖୁଛି
ହଁ
ନା
ହଁ
ନାହାନ୍ତି
ଲେଖା ହେଇଛି।
ନାହାନ୍ତି
ଏତେ
କୋଉଠି
ସବୁ
ଲେଖା ହେଇଛି?
ଡିସକସନ କରିବାର ଅଛି ଯଦି ହ୍ୱାଟସଆପ ରେ କରରେ ଭାଇ।
ହଉ କଣ
ନା ନା ସାର୍ ନାହାନ୍ତି
ଅପିନ୍ଦ୍ର ଭାଇ ଆପଣ ଆପଣଙ୍କ କ୍ୟାମେରା ଅନ୍ କରି ଦେଖୁଛନ୍ତି ଆପଣଙ୍କର।
ଗ୍ରୁପରେ ନାହାନ୍ତି କି?
ହ୍ୟାଲୋ
ସାର୍ ଯୋଉ ଗ୍ରୁପରେ ଆଡ୍ ଅଛନ୍ତି ଆପଣ ନାହାନ୍ତି କି?
ଏଇଠାରୁ
ନା
ସମସ୍ତେ ଲିଭ୍ ହେଇଯାଅ ଗ୍ରୁପ ରେ ହିଁ ଚାଟ୍ କର ଏଇଠି ରେକର୍ଡ ହଉଛି ଯଦି କିଛି ପ୍ରୋବ୍ଲେମ ହେଲା ପରେ।
ମୁଁ ମୁଁ ତ ଗ୍ରୁପରେ ଆଡ୍
କିଏ
ନାହିଁ ମତେ ଟିକେ ଆଡ୍
କହିଲା
କରିଦିଅନ୍ତୁ।
ନମ୍ବର ଦେଇ ଦିଅନ୍ତୁ
ନମ୍ବରଟା ଦେଇଦିଅ
ମେସେଜ
କି ମୁଁ
କରିଦେବି
ଆଡ୍
ଆଡ୍
କିଏ
କରିଦେବି।
କରିଦେବି।
କହିଲା?
ହଁ ଲେଖନ୍ତୁ ମୋ
ମେସେଜ
ନମ୍ବରଟା
କରିଦଉନାହାନ୍ତି
ଲେଖନ୍ତୁ।
ଏଇଠି ମେସେଜ କରିଦଉନାହାନ୍ତି।
ଏଇଠି ମେସେଜ କରିଦେବି କି?
ହଁ ମେସେଜ କରିଦିଅନ୍ତୁ ମୁଁ ସ୍କ୍ରିନଶଟ ମାରିକି ଦେଇଦେବି। ଗ୍ରୁପରେ ଆଡ୍ କରିଦେବି ଆପଣଙ୍କୁ।
ମୁଁ
ଏଠି
ଯାଉଛି ବାଏ
କୋଉଠି
ବାଏ
ମେସେଜ ର ଅପସନ ଅଛି କି ଦେଖାଯାଉନି।
ହଁ ଭାଇ
ଆଉ
ଅଛି
ମୁଁ ବି ଯାଉଛି ବାଏ ବାଏ ଗୁଡ ନାଇଟ୍।
ହଉ
ବାଏ
ଭାଇ
ବାଏ ବାଏ।
ହଉ ଲେଖି ଦିଅନ୍ତୁ ନହେଲେ ମୋର ମେସେଜ ଦେଖାଯାଉନି କାହିଁ।
ହଁ
ଆଚ୍ଛା
କରନ୍ତୁ
ଠିକ ଅଛି
କହନ୍ତୁ।
ରୁହନ୍ତୁ ଟିକେ।
ଆଜ୍ଞା
ହଁ ଦିଅନ୍ତୁ।
7077
7077
390
390
466
ହଁ
ହେଲା।
466
ଘର କୋଉଟା?
7077390466।
ଆଜ୍ଞା ସେଇଟା
ଆଚ୍ଛା ଠିକ ଅଛି ହଉ ମୁଁ
ଆପଣଙ୍କ
ଗ୍ରୁପରେ
ଘର
ଦେଇଦେବି
କୋଉଠି?
ଆଡ୍ କରିଦେବି।
ହଁ ହଁ ସାର୍ ଥ୍ୟାଙ୍କ ୟୁ।
ବାଏ।
ହ୍ୟାଲୋ
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 ହଁ ସୋନାଲି କୁହ।
ହଁ କୁହନ୍ତୁ।
ମୋ ନମ୍ବର ଟା ବି ନୋଟ କରିଦିଅନ୍ତୁ ଗ୍ରୁପରେ ଆଡ କରିଦେବେ।
ଆଚ୍ଛା କୁହନ୍ତୁ।
ହ୍ୟାଲୋ
ହଁ ନମ୍ବର କୁହନ୍ତୁ।
8895
8895
8895
ହଁ
8139
8139
813983
83 ଆଚ୍ଛା ନମ୍ବର ଶୁଣି ଦିଅନ୍ତୁ ଆଉଥରେ ସୋନାଲି ହ୍ୟାଲୋ
ଆଜ୍ଞା କୁହନ୍ତୁ। ହଁ
88958139
8895
81
83
ହଁ 813983 ଆଚ୍ଛା ଠିକ ଅଛି ମୁଁ ଗ୍ରୁପରେ ଦେଇଦେବି ଆଡ୍ କରିଦେବି ହଉ ବାଏ।
ଆଜ୍ଞା
ବାଏ ବାଏ।
ଥ୍ୟାଙ୍କ ୟୁ
ହଉ
ବାଏ
ଠିକ
ଗୁଡ
ଅଛି।
ନାଇଟ୍।